p.m. I will call the June 20th, 2024 business meeting of the Board of Education to order. Stand and start with the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll invite our student reps to read the land acknowledgement.
The West Central School District acknowledges the indigenous people of this region and that this school district building sits on the homelands of the Onondaga of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. It is on these lands that we teach, learn, and live.
Thank you very much. Well, friends, this brings us to the last scheduled Board of Education meeting for the school year. We will start with the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight? Oh, perfect. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Mr. Connor, seconded by Ms. Vargas Cronin. Any questions or comments on the agenda? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. That brings us to public comment, and we do have someone signed in for public comment tonight. And I think this person is familiar with our public comment protocol, so I will bypass that and invite Mrs. Cunningham up to the podium.
Hi, Ann Cunningham, 392 Pine Grove Avenue. It's the last board meeting of the school year, I'm assuming, unless you decide to use that last one. I have a feeling, though, based on history, you're not going to use it. But it is the last board meeting for Justin, Rosa, and Matt. It takes another board member to understand the countless hours that you have put in over the years. And to the public, it is a volunteer position. But it is so incredibly rewarding. So I want to thank you, one former board member, two soon-to-be former board members, to thank you for your time, sharing your time, talents, and energy in support of our students and our staff. It takes a strong board to lead a strong district and in turn a strong wider community, and it's so important for our entire community that our districts and Irondequoit are strong. You've been positive role models, you've worked well together, you've been student focused, and you have proven that this district says all means all, and you really mean that. And you've always been asking, how are the children, and using that as your guiding principle. I cannot thank you enough for the positive manner that and the positive tone that you have set. And I hope you don't mind, but Matt, I'm really going to call you out. You and I have worked the longest together, and you have gone above and beyond, and saying yes to so many roles, not only leadership within the district, but also in the Monroe County School Boards Association. And this district of West Irondequoit has had a long-term and strong advocacy role, and you've followed through with that, and you've kept that going. And it is okay at this point to say thanks for thinking of me, but no, I've talked to you about that, but and although there may be some times when I'm going to ask you.
Thank you for thinking of me.
So for the new board members coming on in July, I challenge you next year to keep that long-standing advocacy role continuing. It's been modeled for years, and we've really made inroads, and we've been able to have our legislators show us the money, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment. So to all three of you, Miss Rosa, I tell you, I appreciate you. We've been friends. You've been my role models. You've helped me learn and grow. And I hope that you will all always challenge our community's thinking and belief system. Thank you.
Thank you.
My 3 minutes, I guess.
You probably ran over, I think, the timer can get started. Gotta go with everyone to the same standard. Thank you very much for those kind words. It's really appreciated. And before we have any more tears or anything like that, we're gonna move on to approval of the minutes. May I have the recommended action, please?
Be it resolved that the minutes of the May 30th, 2024 public hearing and meeting and the June 6th, 2024 audit committee and meeting be approved as presented.
Moved by Mrs. Bornwall, seconded by Mr. Connor. Any questions or comments on the minutes? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. And that brings us to the good news, friends.
Students in Jennifer Gottfried's 4th grade class enjoyed a visit from Senator Samara Brock that was featured on WROC TV Channel 8. Senator Brock wanted to learn more about their stand-up projects, including a beach cleanup that is scheduled for Saturday, June 22nd. IHS track and field runners Katie Bowman, Alex Riddell, Liliana Mendez, Aubrey Smith, and Lizzie Tyler, who were all juniors, along with freshman Kiara Valek, and 8th grader London Capino, also qualified for the state championships. They qualified as members of 2 relay teams, and Lizzie won the 800 meters during qualifying. As the state championships, the 4x400 relay finished 24th in Division I, and the 4x800 relay was 9th. 16 students earned top honors as Core 4 winners at the Urban Suburban Awards Night at Nazareth University. 6 graduating seniors, Zoe Briggs, Aviola Cosimo, Gisele Medina, Mieja Milan, Mercedes Shayaruz, Amaya Tadiano, Tejan Teja, and Amaya Williams were also among those honored. Seniors Isaiah Ballard and Ella Brennan were named the IHS Athletes of the Year at the Athletic Awards ceremony. Isaiah started football and basketball and is headed to SUNY Portland. Ella was on the Section B Championship girls volleyball team and played basketball and lacrosse. She'll continue her lacrosse career at Jacksonville University. Senior lacrosse standout Jonah Carrier was one of the 6 Section B players to earn All-American honors from USA Lacrosse. He also will be honored later this summer at the Democrat and Chronicles All-Greater Rochester Player of the Year. Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Mrs. Michelle Kramer, retired District Nurse Mary Diston, and volunteer Allison Tuff received honorary life membership awards from the West Arundecoit Central PTSA. Dozens of Special Olympic student athletes and partners, along with staff from IHS, Bacon, Rogers, and Southland, participated in the Northeast Monroe County Special Olympics Track and Field Day at Webster Schroeder.
Thank you very much. And a second congratulations to Mrs. Kramer on your honorary life award from PTSA. Next is the report of the superintendent, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you very much. I'm getting a better feeling of how our board members feel when I give updates and steal your thunder. Because I would say about 50% of my material has been covered extremely well, I might add. So thank you so much. So the first thing I want to point out is our graduation walks that occurred this week. We had just so many phenomenal things happening, and despite the heat, everything went off without a hitch. So it's just a really fabulous tradition here in the district, where the students go back to their elementary schools. They get a chance to walk through, high five, the youngsters, hit the playgrounds for one last time, do a little swinging and stuff like that. So just a really special moment. A lot of that's organized not only by our staff, but by the PTSA. So I just want to say thank you for everybody that makes that happen. And the other thing I would point out about this photo, although Mr. DeVeronica and our staff did an outstanding job with the photography, one of the top in the state. This was by one of our recent graduates. And I point that out because outside you'll see Mrs. Reinhardt, and she put up a new art installation today. And we were just chatting about our phenomenal photographers, and she was sharing like at least 2 or 3 that are graduates, or graduating, or juniors going to be seniors, are looking at the field of photography. So, we talk about music a lot, you know, we talk about business, we talk about some of our other programs, you know, but we, in a lot of different ways, our students have these opportunities, and our staff really helps to promote their abilities, and they just flourish. So it's pretty cool. So if you see that out there, she explained the whole thing. It's all about food. So if you get hungry and you want to dip out real quick, visual snack, you can do that. So as our guest said, and how are all the children? The children are well. So Ms. Cunningham, I just want to report back for everybody. You know, starting kind of going around the horn there, the upper left, you know, we talked about Mrs. Godfrey's class, and she's been doing this longer than I've been here. So she was at the forefront of kind of supporting identities and sharing about cultures and just learning how to be advocates and find purpose and meaning. And she does it at a really young age, so it's pretty cool to watch. She always invites us every year, and every year she takes it a little bit farther, you know. So it's become this, not only an Ironquoit event, but as we heard, it's really at the state level now, where we're having some representatives come and experience that, so really cool stuff. Connected to that, I got a chance to attend one of our culture fairs. This one was at the Seneca Elementary School, right next to the picture on the left, the other one in the middle. And again, you know, here we got third graders creating these presentations around cultures, right? And then they're parading the other kids through, and even kids from other buildings. And so, I mean, I had countless pictures just sitting down, these kids are beaming, you know, talking about either a culture of interest, but more likely something that's personally connected to them. You know, and here we have a student here who's just telling me all about some visits back to Yemen and their family and the culture, and it was just, it's really cool to hear and to watch the other kids interacting with that. So we talked about our phenomenal track and field athletes who competed at the national level there. Had a big week of proms and balls going on. Well, it was actually the last 2 weeks. So you can see here, this was the senior ball. So this one was at Cobble Creek. Some really phenomenal venues out there. You got to see these homes that you know, border these golf courses. It was really, really beautiful. So here's some of our students there enjoying that. I just want to say thank you to all of our staff, because, you know, superintendent, my first question is, we're going where and how far is that? You know, and I'm sure some parents were probably saying the same thing. But we did an excellent job, in my point of view as a superintendent, and setting those expectations for supervision and making sure that we ensured the safety of our students, and they had a ball. So kudos. Flag days went up without a hitch. They were phenomenal. Again, you know, our staff are amazing. Rob and Andrew just are phenomenal, watching them with the kids. You know, it's just amazing the relationships that they build with the students throughout the year, and this just kind of is the culminating activity. So again, kudos to everybody for setting that up. That's a lot of work. And the last one there in the lower left, so that's Mrs. Quintero again. I had a conflict, but she did, I think, the second year of book signing. Really big deal. You can see the students beaming there. So some personal literature there that they wrote, and that was published. So if you didn't get a chance to see that, we can make some copies available. Some updates. This was pretty cool. More student updates. I didn't have enough room to share them all. So you know, we talk about warm and welcoming environments, and a lot of that is what we do and how we make students feel, and you know, physical play is important. So here's another mural that just went up thanks to our seniors, AP artists, Beatrix, Rory, and Lola. You can see in the lower right-hand corner. Really, I felt like it just really embodies what we've been doing here as a district, right? All means all, creating this inclusive environment where everybody feels valued. So kudos to them for doing that. Had a great time attending the Alibis performance at the Irwin Center. So some of you I saw in the audience, packed house when I was there. What I really want to celebrate about that is it's a very inclusive endeavor. So kids from across the abilities, right? Some were students that I've seen in every, you know, since I've been here, and some that I've never seen, you know, and some students from our self-contained classrooms. So just kudos to everybody involved in that. I had a chance to catch up with some old friends at the Race 5K, the Juneteenth 5K over the weekend. Great event. Just really proud of the work the district has done to kind of work with our community partners at Race. And they've really done an excellent job of building their identity and their work in the community. And there was a lot of families there. We had a Rogers team that ran. And so I just want to say thank you to them for all the work they do and all the work they do to support our schools. Just an update, Mr. Brennan may hit on this. Just we had a OACM meeting recently, and I'm sad to say that the delay in the approval of our RISE project has extended a little bit. So that's okay, because we're poised and ready. Shouldn't really disrupt the implementation of that all that greatly, but I want to make sure that you guys are kept informed about that. Just so the board knows, we're kicking off our onboarding next week with individual meetings with our new members. So got everything laid out. We'll be going through some of the basic nuts and bolts of boardship, and then we're scheduling a collective, collaborative onboarding session in July where everybody will come in. We'll get a chance to go through the different sectors of our organization and talk about what to experience and answer questions and all that. So just want to make sure that the board is aware and is personally invited if you're available next Wednesday, on the 26th at 8 a.m. We'll be celebrating the year with our staff. We'll keep it succinct. We'll be celebrating our retirees for the year and some soon to be. There's my tear, somebody pass a tissue. As well as just the year in general. So if you get a chance, you want to come, we'll have some goodies there beforehand in the Commons. And then just a reminder, sent you an email, we got graduation coming up. Like I said, it's a big weekend, so we have that coming up on Sunday, 10 a.m. Ms. Zip emailed me today and just said make sure that we arrive by 9:30. We can be getting into our gowns and everything. We'll meet in the green room. If you were there in the past, you'll know what that is. And if you don't, we can help you. Somebody will show you where it is. And she encouraged us to park in Lot M. That would be the easiest to get out of. So, all right. And last, we can't congratulate Ms. Kramer enough. So, Ms. Kramer, congratulations to you, Ms. Piston, and Ms. Tuck on winning a very prestigious award here in the community, the Honorary Life Award for all of your contributions to our schools, our students, and our communities. Big honor, and super proud to work with you. So, with that, any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
On the SED,
Yep.
is that more of an SED problem, or was there a problem with our projects?
No, that's a great question. SED problem.
I was just wondering, so
Yeah.
we want to take that as,
Yep.
we've been talking about advocacy topics
Yeah.
for Monroe County School Boards. Again, these projects that voters approved, and now we're pushing back,
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure, I thought
Yeah.
that was the case.
Yeah.
Usually, our James and the team really have everything synced. So again, that's something that we need to push the state on,
Yeah.
faster reviews, especially
Yeah.
for smaller projects too.
Right. That was something that was brought up, right, James? Especially with our Brookview project coming up.
So like remodel projects are a little bit different than
Right.
they want to build in school.
Right,
Major
yeah.
project, I would
Yeah,
say.
absolutely.
Okay, thanks, I'll just mark that down.
Yeah, we could talk a little bit more about that. I think James will be going over some
Okay.
facility stuff too, right, James?
Yeah.
So, great, good point. Anyone else?
There's a car parade,
There is a car parade, potentially tomorrow night if you're available.
goes right down my street, how should I
Right
miss
down your
it?
street.
Are you going?
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah,
I just want to say thank you to our Board of Education representatives for your service this year. It was a pleasure to meet with you once a month in the mornings via Zoom and go through everything. You were always cheerful, big smiles, and you kept Mr. D in line, which is helpful.
Tried my best.
Thank you. I know
nobody
you do.
takes all the credit.
I know you do. So in your bag, you have a small token of appreciation on behalf of the district, the Board of Education, and thanks to Ms. Lustig. I feel like she nailed it as far as her gift this year. So, all right. Thank you.
But you're not done yet.
Yeah.
First, we have the last report of the student representatives for the year.
Today we visited Rogers and spoke with the students there. Overall, Rogers is a friendly and fun environment. While there have been a few hiccups every now and then with behavior, students say that the adults, and specifically Principal Mr. DiMartino, were able to handle the situations appropriately. PE was popular throughout the grades. Students especially enjoyed Mr. Shaler's classes. They're also very excited about the new goggle ball pit. Students wished for more variety in school lunches. One student even claimed that all they served was chicken and cheese, and while that might be a bit of an exaggeration, it seems that all around students would appreciate the additions of new menu items. Students mentioned wanting a new playground, and fortunately Rogers will be getting one soon. Some students said that having band or choir or orchestra rehearsals in the morning before school is difficult for those who take the bus, thus making it so that only those with access to cars in the morning can participate. Mr. DeVeronica mentioned possibly moving these rehearsals to after school and having a late PM bus that we would own, but we understand that busing as a whole is a difficult subject for various reasons. Another possible idea could be moving the practices into the school day to take the place of general music courses. Students who play instruments can go to band or orchestra or choir as a class, and those who do not play instruments can take a general music class. We can take this feedback regarding rehearsals to the school if the board feels it fit to do so. Shout out to Mrs. Elliott, a very popular homeroom teacher among students. Rogers offers a variety of clubs, some of which include gardening club, jazz band, intramurals, and newspaper club. This concludes the Rogers report.
That's so cool.
The IHS school year has come to an end, and as grades are finalized and end-of-year events occur, the seniors prepare for their final departure from the school. Last Friday, senior ball occurred, and although criticisms on the size of the venue arose, those who attended the event seemed to greatly enjoy it. This past Monday, IHS seniors had their elementary school walkthroughs, where they were given a chance to return where it all started, a chance to reminisce, see old teachers, and give words of advice to young kids in the school system. Tomorrow, the senior picnic and car parade will occur, the two final events for seniors before they graduate on Sunday, finally concluding their time in West Arundecoyt. As I prepare for this, I would like to thank the district and the teachers for the education I received, and I thank the board for the opportunity to help the district by being a student rep.
Thank you for that report, and I just want to echo everything Dr. Johnson said. It's been an absolute pleasure working with all three of you this year, and you've done an exemplary job representing our student body at every grade level and bringing back, that important information, just to that, music issue at Rogers. That's been part of our strategic plan to work on that, right, and find that equity for everyone and all of our students. So to hear it come from you guys as well is just great. So thank you so much for spending your Thursday nights with us this year. We really appreciate it. You're more than welcome to stay. No pressure. It's very nice out. So if you would choose to depart, we will not hold that against you. But
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next is report of the treasurer, approval of financial statements and treasurer's reports. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the May 31st, 2024 financial statements and treasurer's report be accepted as presented.
May I have a motion, please? Moved by Mrs. Bornevalt. May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Ford. Dr. Johnson.
Yes, Mr. Brennan, anything to add?
You have the documents in front of you. Just to go through the summary briefly, on expenditure side, we're right on line with prior years. June expenses always tick up a bit because of the number of our 12-month staff opt for a large paycheck, helping them get through the summertime, so some of those costs have been deferred to this that last pay. So they'll be including those expenses in June. State aid, we're right on schedule when we received the past, and treasurer's report, as we've talked about before, summer is our lean time because we aren't receiving revenues at that point, but we still have expenses tied to starting for school, getting ready for the school year next year, but also any 12-month staff. So we always look very closely going into the summer. We're in great shape in that regard. We've had a couple CDs running in tandem. One's gonna be maturing in July, just in time for us to utilize that money to help us remain liquid during the summer. So no borrowings anticipated, so we're in great shape for the summer.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from Mr. Brennan? All right, all those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. That brings us to business. Dr. Johnson.
Yes, again, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Brennan. Mr. Brennan, updates.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Johnson. And actually, my update today is tied to facilities. So if I could have
Have the clicker, it's right here.
that'd be great.
Yep.
So there's a slide deck in board docs tied to facilities planning. This is actually from our most recent meeting that we had, our June meeting. And what we did was we talked mostly about the RISE project, but also summer projects. So I'm going to take you through some of those pieces briefly tonight. So we start our meetings with warm welcomes, but you can see we really focused on the summer projects, and then just the RISE project is going to become a big part of our lives, both facilities planning, but as a district over this next year plus. Because even though SED has been delayed in terms of the approval, we are anticipating at any time, and so the work will proceed at that point. Not tied to the RISE project, we continue to work on building safety and security through our installation of incident response panels. We prioritize our academic buildings, but now we're spreading out to some of our support buildings, including Sproul Fieldhouse, the Evans Madrell Learning Center, and district office. So they've been all installed, and now we're going to be doing some testing, both in terms of internal testing, but also making sure all the different systems they connect to work appropriately. We do have another Smart Schools Bond Act project that was approved by the finance division. Now we're waiting for SED facilities to approve the work we're doing there, which will also be connected with the incident response panels in terms of updating our public address systems. So let's go to summer. So this is there's going to be a lot of work going on around the summer, and I'll kind of talk through what's being done internally within our district, but also that which is being done through the RISE project. So let's start in the lower right-hand corner. It's right. Probably saw as you drove in today. We are replacing the sewer line for this building, and so what they are connecting to is off the rear of the building. That's that yellow arrow connecting across List Avenue. The dotted line there, kind of going diagonal across the track and the practice football field, that's the existing line. And after 20 plus years, it's started to deteriorate, some wear and tear on it. And so we're working with the architects and engineers at CPL. We're putting a new line in, a little more direct connection that should work very well. We're going to be doing, kind of continuing clockwise from that point. We're doing some paving at the south end of the turf. This came back from feedback from our employees. That's a gravel lot in terms of some issues, particularly in the wintertime, with the gravel there, salt and so on. Hard to keep as clear as some of our paved lots, so we do have included the budget to pave that portion to address those concerns. We continue every summer to continue to paint in various locations throughout the district, but with our color palette we've established, all of our colors have alignment across buildings. We'll be following that. There'll be some painting on the first floor hallway. Front of the building by the music rooms, we started this at the south end of the school last year. By the counseling center, we're going to continue to address some concrete replacement in front of the building. Some design changes a little bit in terms of making them wider to make clearing with district equipment more easy, and pulling them off the building to prevent any, when the snow melts, runoff kind of wetting into the building. Dake Library, this is actually tied to one of the Learning Spaces grants in terms of makerspace, and so, but there's a portion of some flooring with that requires an abatement in the library, and that will be occurring over the summer. Replacing some fencing at the north end of the turf that's been damaged just from athletics, essentially. Lacrosse walls, if you've ever been over there, so we're going to replace that fence at the north end. And then, if you remember, we had our athletic storage shed installed late summer into the fall. Some finishing pieces tied to concrete and paving have to occur at that portion. Iroquois. we get to bring in some of the elements from the RISE project here. So you can see where it says playground installation, and it was mentioned during the student report, talking about Rogers, but that we wanted Iroquois as well as the Gaga pit. Popular piece, the kids were involved in terms of designing the major elements of it, so that'll be part of the RISE project. But there'll be other work going on as well within the building. Some is kind of pre-work tied to the RISE project. So the locker removal, will provide a storage area for the books as the, in preparation for the libraries to be renovated at Iroquois and Rogers. You'll see that on the next slide as well. But we're gonna be dressing up some of the gym and bathrooms in that area through some painting, replacing carpet in the main hallway, and then at the, along where the 4th grade wing is for Iroquois, getting at addressing some paving needs from milling and paving. A lot of work has been done over there in the last couple of years. This is the last piece there. At Rogers, some of the similar pieces, so playgrounds going in over there. Locker removal, similar to at Iroquois, that's in preparation for the library renovation part of the RISE project as well. Places have access to the books during that renovation. There's a rooftop unit that's being replaced under the RISE project as well. And then within South Lawn itself, there's several bathrooms that have been identified for floor replacement. We know we've had some flooding issues in the gymnasium, so we're going to be working with CPL to come up with some concepts in terms of stormwater management. That's one of the areas, the backup areas for that. Make sure that's fitting our needs appropriately for some of these heavier storms that we've had more recently. The front of the building, milling and paving. Again, kind of similar to what we did at Iroquois, picking sections each year to address the parking lots. Some painting again over at Rogers, and then finally some field restoration and irrigation that's going to occur at Rogers to bring that field kind of back to life for a variety of purposes. And you can kind of see this slide here just kind of shows like some of our color palette schemes we've been using from across the district, again tying that idea of branding and identity, bringing it to all of our buildings. And then finally, not this kind of as a summary of all the paving, but also just specifically talk about the Evans McGraw Learning Center, the ramp. This is also kind of a loading dock area too, where they drop off pallets of tech. The concrete there, brickwork has deteriorated significantly, so that will be replaced as well. And then finally, I got a slide ahead, I did. The RISE project. This is the schedule as it is right now. We're still mostly on track, but we're watching it closely. The good news is our summer work will get done. The rooftop unit, the playgrounds at Rogers and Iroquois will be completed because those are all things we'll be purchasing off a state contract. So we don't necessarily have to go through a bidding process. But the remainder of the pieces, they're set to be really kicking off starting in the fall with Lakeview. The bridge work between IHS and Dake occurring in October. We have our door upgrades at Seneca and Dake. And you can see in December, as I mentioned on the previous slide, talking about the Iroquois Library, and then in April, the Rogers Library. Then finally in July and other pieces in the summer, that's where the project will be wrapping up with the auditorium light bar replacement, and then a variety of other rooftop units tied to our HVAC systems at IHS, Dake, and Iroquois. That was an hour meeting condensed into a couple minutes. Any questions regarding the facilities updates that are occurring? A lot of work going to happen during the summer.
Just the picture on the last slide there, is that the rendering of the bridge that's going to be added?
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, that'll be a very noticeable addition to our main campus.
Any other questions for Mr. Brennan? Thank you for that summary.
Thank you.
That brings us to instruction. Dr. Johnson.
I'm excited to introduce Ms. Miga.
Thanks. I don't have too much because I have a new course proposal to share with you a little bit later in the meeting. But I just want to recognize all the end of the year celebrations going on across the district. Was able to make it to the South Lawn Wax Museum today, the Seneca Fair last week to see just all of our students present and just do such a nice job
of describing either their own culture or someone that they've learned quite a bit about. So it's great to see, and all the celebrations are wonderful as well. And so we're looking forward to graduation and summer.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the city? All right, that brings us to personnel, and the first item under personnel is personnel. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the personnel agenda dated June 20th, 2024, as recommended by the superintendent of schools, be approved as presented.
May I have a motion? Thank you, Mrs. Bourne. May I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Bourne. Dr. Johnson.
Mr. Kramer?
Great, thank you. So tonight for your approval, we have a retirement of a world language teacher of 36 years and 9 months of thankful district service. A certified resignation of a music teacher, a special education teacher, teaching assistant, school psychologist, library media specialist, and director of health, physical education, and athletics. We have classified resignations of a youth assistant, teacher aide, and cleaner. And the appointments for certified probationary staff of a biology teacher at the secondary level, a math teacher at the secondary level, from classified staff, a maintenance mechanic 3, and some of our at-will per diem employees of 2 long-term sub-1s at the secondary level, a monitor, an interim principal, and interim directors of health, physical education, and athletics. And then recommendation for permanent civil service appointment of a food service helper and a cleaner, and a leave of absence for a teacher assistant.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. The next item is fall coaching stipends. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the fall coaching stipends dated June 20th, 2024, as recommended by the superintendent of schools, be approved as presented.
May I have a motion, please? Thank you, Mr. Connor, seconded by Mrs. Bourne. Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, so tonight for your approval are our fall coaches. And they're just no major changes from the first read.
Questions or comments on that? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. And that brings us to personnel addendums A and B. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that personnel addendums A and B dated June 20th, 2024, be approved as presented.
Moved by Mr. Sullivan. May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Connor. Dr. Johnson.
Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, so the addendum A is our non-affiliated employees' recommendations for their wage rate for the 24-25 school year. And addendum B is the recommendations for our substitute and tutor rates for the 24-25 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Kramer. Any questions or comments on that one? All right, all those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. That brings us to new business. And the first item was teased by Mrs. Miga a little while ago, new course proposal, physical science. Dr. Johnson.
So, Ms. Miga, please.
Yeah,
Turn to
so
you.
while it was teased tonight by me, this was actually teased by Dr. Marrero when he was here giving a curriculum update with Ms. Crystal. And so today we present to you a new course proposal for physical science, which is something that was, well, give a little bit of the background throughout the presentation, but something that is a course view specifically in our 15-1-1 classroom at the high school setting. And so this came from, the need to create clear pathways for students to access higher level coursework, specifically in science and mathematics. And so we identified this need because we noticed that the course sequence for self-contained, so specifically in this case the 15-1-1 students, was not clearly defined. And so there was kind of students in that program and had a wide range of courses managed by one teacher. And so also the options for earning a physical science credit were not as accessible. and there really wasn't any adapted curricular materials. And then coupled with this, we saw for our 1511 students in particular, there was mixed results in Regents assessments. And so our team wanted to think about, okay, so how can we create a sequence that makes sense without limiting students to access of any of the courses that they may take, whether they are in the 1511 program throughout their high school career, or if they move to a least restrictive environment, they still are able to access courses and have kind of a sequence that builds that makes sense to best support them. And so this is the kind of course sequence that was created with Orlando and then our 1511 teacher and some of the science department as well. So you can see kind of starting with the course that's being proposed, which is physical science. And, make sure that's going. So we wanted to be able to offer physical science sooner so that there was some foundational building for students, which we think will ultimately also help them and their success on the Regents. But also this would prepare for an extra preparation towards living environment, which is an area that some of our students have historically struggled with. So why physical science? So again, because it's going to provide that strong understanding in fundamental physical phenomenon, so which could be the basis for biology and chemistry later. And again, it would help to kind of bridge some of those connections and the ideas in biology. It gives students an opportunity to take some assessments kind of prior to a Regents style exam that mirrors that Regents. And again, provides that extra time for preparation. And so then we also just included, this is the draft course sequence. So this is the basically what is proposed to be covered throughout the course. And we would pull together representative teachers from each content area along with the director of STEAM and the teacher who would teach the 1511. And then, you know, if the course is approved, then would do some of the work in the summer months and early fall to ensure that we have a strong curriculum in place. The great news is there's no impact on staffing because it is delivered through our 1511 teacher. And so again, this is a way to not only help our students have better access and support to some of their learning, but it's also a way to help a 1511 teacher who might have different grade levels to support and streamline instruction for students as well. And of course, there's there'll be equipment needs and compensation for curriculum writing, but that's always built into our summer curriculum budget for those needs. So any questions about the new course?
So actually, yeah, about the staffing, it's great that you guys noticed this because definitely in 1511s and in smaller contained classrooms, it's so overwhelming. I feel like for this one special ed classroom teacher to have to give instruction in science and math and STEAM and all the other areas. So yeah, it really is great that you guys have seen this. I guess I don't know what to call it, a fall or definitely a gray area when it comes to our special ed department, right, and our continuum of services for our students. So I wanted to ask about that. I noticed in that last slide you noted that the impacted staffing wouldn't change because it's this teacher that will be still giving the instruction. So are the other instructors like in science and STEAM, are they giving her the curriculum and then
they'll build it together. Yeah, that's a great question. So we would take representatives from the different courses to help build the course with her together.
Okay, great. So they're like collaborating to really create this new curriculum, right, for the 1511.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. But the implementation is still down to the teacher.
Correct, yeah.
And in terms of like their like special classes, like art and other special subjects like that, are those still provided by the special classroom teachers? Like how do those?
The specials, no, they go to, like they could take art or different things like that. It's depending on the student need, they might have a TA that accompanies them. So it really is kind of student dependent at that point.
Any other questions for Mrs. Nugent? John?
Is the board gonna be able to audit this? Because I like all the subjects, I really want to take it.
Yes.
I'm just reading through the course description. I'm like,
We'll bring it forward
interested,
once it's
want to
written.
know more, really like it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited
Yeah.
that this is another opportunity for our students.
Mhm.
So that was just my comment.
And it sounds like there's a textbook approval, Mr. Bay's already signed.
That's right.
I'll take it. It's great work, it looks great, it covers a little bit of everything.
That's right.
Good
Good foundation.
so I like it.
Any other questions or comments for Mrs. Nugent? Well, thank you very much. That is a first read, and the board will vote on that at the reorganizational meeting in July. Next is NYSBA conference. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that incoming Board of Education members Kate Copeland and Tamara Wall be authorized to attend the NYSBA Leadership and Education event in Albany, New York from July 19th to July 20th, 2024.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Bay. May I have a second by Mrs. Bornwall? Anything to add on that?
I would add one thing, I was just looking at the fall conference, I know we talked a little bit about that, I'll throw it out here as a plug. The registration for that starts July 30th, so it's pretty competitive in New York City as far as housing, and I know that the board had some conversation about that, but if we wanted to plan to have a conversation at our reorg meeting in early July, that would be a good time for us to make a decision so that we can get right in and get people registered if they wanted to attend. So I'll just put that out there. It's October 20th through 22nd. I was just looking at really great stuff around AI, safety, security, I could go on and on, but it looks like a really great, breadth of topics.
Excellent. Always good programming put on by New York State School Boards. Any discussion on this, questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. Next is acceptance of audit. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the internal control risk assessment for the 2023-24 cycle be approved as presented.
May I have a motion, please? Thank you, Ms. Bornwall, seconded by Ms. Vargas Cronin. Dr. Johnson.
Mr. Brennan, anything to add?
No, this was the audit that the committee reviewed 2 weeks ago. This is a normal annual process we go through with the firm, EFPR, for the district. Engages with annually to do this for us. So that is the finalized audit.
Questions or comments from Mr. Brennan? Dr.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing. There was a comment that was included in that we discussed. I just wanted to report back to the board that we've had a chance to investigate that more deeply. And we've already acted on making some changes to the structure of how we handle some of those after-hour calls and redirect some of those things. And we're going to be working in the next week to even further structure an action plan. Just to, it was a great opportunity to look at some of the structural pieces there. So I just want to report back that some of that work has started.
Great.
So, yep.
Any further discussion on the audit? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. Dr. Johnson just teased this. Next is the acceptance of the corrective action plan. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the corrective action plan for the 2023-24 internal control risk assessment be approved as presented.
Moved by Mr. Conner. May I have a second? seconded by Mrs. Porter. Dr. Johnson?
Yep. Mr. Brennan?
Yeah, so Dr. Johnson spoke about the comment that there were two findings which require a corrective action plan to be approved. And so that's what these two items are. Took feedback from the audit committee, particularly around interim steps as we wait for some hardware to come in around temperature control sensors for our freezers. We've added that to the corrective action plan. Appreciate that feedback. And so this is the actual actions we'll be taking to implement as a result of the risk assessment engagement.
Thank you, sir. Questions or comments on that? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. That brings us RISE project, amendment to the 2023-24 budget. May I have the recommended action?
Be it resolved by the Board of Education of the West Arundecoit Central School District to amend the 2023-24 budget to transfer $8 million from the capital reserve into the capital fund.
May I have a motion, please? Thank you, Mr. Bay, seconded by Mrs. Bornevall. Dr. Johnson?
Mr. Brennan, anything to add on this one?
Yeah, this is really an accounting procedure. So we have the RISE project, and the RISE project was approved by voters in 2023. And as part of that approval process, they approved us using $8 million of our capital reserve. And that $8 million has just been sitting there in the reserves because it was really no work being done because we're waiting for SED approval. We're anticipating SED approval very soon, and once that occurs, there's going to be a significant amount of work going. So we need to move the money from the capital reserve to what's called the capital fund. Capital fund is how we account for costs associated with capital projects. In order to do that, we have to do what's called an interfund transfer, move it from reserve into our general fund, and then move it to this capital fund. And that's what these two kind of steps of our budget process has to occur. So we're all set to start expending money once work begins on the RISE project. So this is a normal piece. You typically wait until you just about to start work, and it's coming.
You had me at accounting procedure. Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? That is 7-0. Next is approval of intermunicipal agreement. May I have the recommended action, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the West Arundecoit Central School District approves the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Arundecoit for the rental of storage space.
May I have a motion, please? Thank you, Ms. Bornwall, seconded by Ms. Vargas Cronin. Dr. Johnson?
Mr. Brennan, would you like to unpack this one?
Yes, absolutely. So this is also tied to the RISE project. This really deals with the renovation of the retired school Lakeview to become our new DOES facility. However, as we know, half that building is already being used by DOES, particularly in the form of storage and some workspaces there. So when that renovation occurs, we need somewhere to put all the various materials tied to DOES. We looked into a variety of kind of private places, but we also investigated with the town and found some very competitive prices, working with the town of Arundecoit to utilize some of their facilities to store our equipment for the next 12 months, which will hopefully, it should give us enough time to get that building renovated so that we can then move into the space. This will be advantageous to us because for any new supplies that are coming in, it gives a place that we can access easily. We can have deliveries taken there. It's also a secure facility as well. And so that's what this recommendation, we've had a lot of good partnerships with the town over the years. They've done a lot with us towards paving and purchasing of salt and some fill like topsoil and so on. And so this is another example of us working closely with the town to be efficient. In this case, renting some space for them for some temporary storage in preparation for a capital project.
Excellent. Any questions or comments on that? John?
So it talks about the lease, but it doesn't give a term, and it doesn't give, 12 months, I'm sorry, it is under there, I'm sorry. Okay. And if we want to get on early, is there an early out on this, because it just says 12 months? So if we give like 60 days notice?
Yeah, we essentially, as long as we're using it, we'll pay the rent. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. That brings us to approval of transportation contracts. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the transportation contracts for the 2024-25 school year be approved as presented.
May I have a motion, please? Everybody at once, give it to Mrs. Bourne, seconded by Mrs. Bourne-All. Dr. Johnson.
Again, we'll shift it back to Mr. Brennan. Anything to add on this, Mr. Brennan?
This represents, really, it's not the complete package of our transportation contracts. We know we have quite a bit of extensive contracts with First Student as well as Transpo as our private contractors. However, their increases are tied to CPI, and as when this memo was written, the state hadn't released that number yet for us in terms of transportation. So we don't have the information yet to be able to have that approved. That it's really anticipated we'll have that well before the reorganization meeting. So you'll see more transportation contracts, but that's why they're split in two. These, however, we do have the information. This is from our partnerships with Easter Irondequoit and Monroe and BOCES, and so these will cover some pieces tied to some of our summer transports, as well as some school year transports being provided by those two schools. So these are those are the approximate annualized values for those contracts.
Thank you. Questions or comments on that? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. Next is an RFP award for contract security services. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the West Irondequoit Central School District approves a contract with Armor Security and Protection to provide security services to the district from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025 at a rate of $34.30 per hour.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. May I have a second by Ms. Vargas Cronin? Dr. Johnson.
I just want to comment, I just want to say thank you to Ms. Brennan and Mr. Conti. You know, they reviewed these things with me in the recommendation, and what I really appreciate is the process, the approach they took. They've developed, for all of these contracts that they secure, to recommend some rubrics with some well-defined criteria that we're looking for based on the needs, and then a rating scale for that. So I know it was very thorough, very thoughtful, so just want to recognize that. Turn it over to Mr. Brennan.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Johnson. So as we know, the primary form of security with our district is through our own employees, through our security workers as well as our youth assistants. We also do augment those by bringing in contractors that serve when there are absences for special events and so on. And so this recommendation, we had 3 companies participate in our RFP. All the references were excellent. It really boiled down to a couple of pieces to differentiate. One was cost. Cost was important, obviously, and you can see that the winning recommendation for Armor was the lowest cost. There was also some pieces tied to any non-compete clauses that may be within the contracts that would allow that, provide some flexibility for us to be able to, in the future, hire some of the contractual security workers to be able to kind of, maintain our force as well. So that's the recommendation for next year at $34.30 with Armor Security and Protection Incorporated.
So I was gonna ask if there was any kind of non-compete clause, if we really liked anybody that came through, if we would be able to sort of scoop them up. But additionally, when I was looking at this, what came to mind was conversation that we had at the audit committee around some of the expenses with our internal security. So by using these contracted services, can that sort of help offset some of that we discussed at audit committee?
It could, based on
Yeah.
Absences. These are also used again for augmenting, adding, like for special events
Right.
as well. But you're right, for absences, we were able to utilize this as well.
Okay, good.
Any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. Next is acceptance of the school lunch/milk prices. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the following lunch milk prices for the 2024-25 school year be approved as presented.
Moved by Mrs. Bourneval, seconded by Mrs. Bourne. Dr. Johnson.
Mr. Brennan,
I don't know.
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about, no.
Yes, thank you. So, we're.
Sorry.
You guys want to hear about the bar, we can try to tell talk more than I can. But about the prices at least, we're not recommending any changes to our school lunch prices for either the student meals or the adult meals. A couple of reasons why. One, we kind of do a scan of the county in terms of prices that are changing out there. We're still in line with the kind of the range of prices in various other districts. The other thing, really more importantly, is CEP, the Community Eligibility Program, which allowed our students, all of our students, to access free breakfasts and lunches. That is included in next year's budget. We have to go through an application process like we do every year for it, but we're anticipating that we will be awarded that as well. And so in some respects, this kind of keeps somewhat moot for us. And the fact that because of CEP and the volume at which we were able to push meals out, the health of the school lunch fund is in a very good position right now. So even if by some chance CEP was improved, by not changing our prices, doesn't jeopardize that overall health of the food service budget. So that's based talking to reviewing with Mrs. Logius, our director of food services. So we kind of came to that conclusion. It was good to leave things as is for one more year.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. That brings us to the superintendent's contract. May I have the recommended resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the board approves the employment agreement for Aaron Johnson, FD, Superintendent of Schools, dated June 20th, 2024, and effective as of July 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mrs. Bourneval. This is where I would normally turn it over to Dr. Johnson, but I'll keep it to myself. We like Dr. Johnson. We'd like him to continue working for the district, so we are offering him a contract extension. I want to just say thank you to the entire board for your flexibility in working through that negotiation process, and also to our legal team and Dr. Johnson's attorney that were able to fix a typo this afternoon and get that squared away. So I got a quick turnaround on that. And thank you to Mr. Bay for finding that for us. Appreciate that, because I read it, I'm sure Matt read it, I'm sure Aaron read it, and we all missed it. So we did take all of the previous years. We had the original contract, and then we've been tacking amendments on every year. We have taken all of those and consolidated them into one document now, which is why things got messy, but I think in the long run it's going to be cleaner. Yeah, it's way easier than trying to reference Amendment 3, Paragraph 7, etc. Anything you want to add?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, I would say, to obviously to extend my service to the board and the community. Yeah, I love what I do. I love working with you. You know, it brings joy to me. I've got a fantastic team, so the opportunity to serve one more year is very much appreciated, and I really appreciate the process of being able to have the conversation with you folks about that. So thank you. And I did catch that error. I just thought that maybe, you know, just I will say
just a little bonus.
I was like, wait a minute, I didn't remember that, but so thank you, Mr.
Any other discussion on this? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. Congratulations, Dr. Johnson,
Thank you all.
Being stuck with us for another year. That brings us to the consent agenda. May I have the recommended resolution?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the West Irondequoit Central School District approves the consent agenda, which includes I-2 through I-19.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Connor, seconded by Ms. Vargas Cronin. This is a hefty one tonight. The consent agenda includes recommendations of the Committee on Special Education, approval of the 2024-25 Code of Conduct, policy approval committee revisions, and there's a whole list of policies in board docs, policy approval required review, surplus furniture, approval of lease agreement, approval of end-of-year fund balance / reserve plan, approval of the 5 years facilities plan, extension of RFP for school physician, extension of RFP for nurse practitioner, approval of fresh produce supply bid, approval of ice cream and frozen dessert supply bid, approval of food supply bid, approval of beverage supply bid, approval of fresh bread supply bid, approval of natural gas bid, approval of pizza bid, and approval of bagel bid. Are there any items on the consent agenda which a board member would like removed for a separate discussion?
What about tastings?
I am lodging a formal complaint today. Every year, I ask for the pizza samples and the ice cream samples.
Right, I mean, even the bread.
And every year, Mr. Brennan just lets us down here. Sorry, James. It's going in your permanent record. Any items on the consent agenda which a board member would like removed to be voted on separately? Questions or comments on the consent agenda as a whole? All those in favor? That is 7-0, Ms. Lustig. That brings us to liaison reports. First is, and we'll skip Monroe County School Boards because that's done for the year, so we'll start with Helmer Nature Center with Mr. Connor and Mr. Bay.
So we gave an update at the last board, but today they had their 50th anniversary celebration. So we have been lucky enough to have that nature center in our district for 50 years, and it's a great asset to not only our students but also our community, and we wish them well for another 50 years. I recommend everybody and go to their website and stuff. There's a lot of neat stuff.
Awesome. Next is PTSA. Mrs. Boer or Mrs. Cornwall?
Talk about thunder being stolen by many people tonight, because that was the PTA meeting, was the Honorary Life Award, so, which happened on June 11th. Michelle Kramer, Mary Piston, and Allison Tuff were awarded. It was a wonderful night. There were lots of people at Dake that night. It was great to celebrate these 3 wonderful people, so congratulations again.
See how many times. Thank you. Next is West Irondequoit Foundation, Mr. Connor, Mr. Sullivan.
I was not able to attend the last meeting, but I know what the things they worked on was just approval of next year's meeting dates. They did review an extra grant that wasn't previously submitted, and they did some clarification of the goals of the grants to applicants and administrators, and they reviewed potential grant scholarship funding for the Dake DC trip.
Excellent. They still working through the bylaws, or did they get that done?
I think we got through that.
Next is the Teacher Learning Center with Mrs. Boer and Mr. Sullivan.
We have not had another meeting.
Right.
For the school year.
Okay. You'll see there's a gap here with facilities. After our discussion at our last meeting, we moved facilities up in the agenda. Mr. Brennan gave us an excellent report, so it would be redundant to report out on that again. That brings us to health and safety with Mrs. Bornball and Ms. Vargas-Crum.
Health and safety. So again, a lot of the facility updates that were at that meeting were covered by Mr. Brennan earlier. So other topics that were covered included some nursing updates, welcomed the new Dake nurse, Christine Sodman, discussed trainings that are being conducted. Those included CPR. To date, 22 individuals have been trained. That included a wider scope of staff, trauma, illness, grief. There are now up to 35 trained teachers. The 8th graders completed above the influence training. That consists of learning what motivates them to rise above negative influences. And then the youth risk behavior survey was conducted at Dake and IHS. Some of the security updates included some new staffing hires, AED maintenance, greeter training, improving the arrival and dismissal signs so they don't blow down when it's windy, working to set up security camera access for law enforcement, discussion around lockdown drills, developing ongoing training, and functional exercises for the reunification continued training. And then the last piece was the cybersecurity updates that that cover discussing the Arctic Wolf security journey, the business impact analysis, business continuity plan, and password updates. So like Mr. Brennan said, for 1 hour.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's jam-packed.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That brings us to building reports. Mr. Bay, anything left?
Not much left. You want to talk about getting your thunderstorm. You got the high school, you ain't got nothing like to say about the end of the meeting. But anyways, just, I want to, our student reps, who come from the high school, they do a great job, and really the students, but really the staff, getting ready to usher our seniors out into the world, have done a wonderful job this past month, as they're doing for exams and everything, and all the other things that they do for them. So just kudos to our staff over there. Congratulations to all our graduates. We'll celebrate them on Sunday, and we wish our returning students in the fall, they'll be one grade closer. So we look forward to welcoming them back in the fall. So thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Dick?
I unfortunately did not receive an update, so I don't have anything to report.
All right. Rogers?
So first of all, I would like to say a big thank you to Mr. M and Mr. DiMartino for their partnership this year. It was really exciting to be more involved with the Rogers community. The highlight of the year was definitely working the coffee cart. Thanks for your example in that last year. Lots of stuff going on, as there is across the entire district. They have had both their 5th and 6th grade final concert of the year, as well as the 4th grade concert. The awards ceremony was this week as well. Some very exciting days coming up. Today and tomorrow is outdoor ed for our 6th grade students. At the same time, it is field day for our 4th and 5th grade students. And then next week is next Monday, very exciting day as they celebrate moving up for our 6th graders. So definitely have a lot going on in Rogers, and again, just a big thank you to Mr. Hens and Mr. DiMartino.
Absolutely, thank you. Iroquois?
Yeah, so Christian sent a really nice note. He wanted to share that staff is working feverishly to provide students with both a reflective and celebratory closure to this school year. That includes last week's Spring Student Showcase, where the students were showing off some of the projects and products and skills that they are most proud of to their parents and their families. They also held their annual awards and end-of-year recognition ceremonies. And then the 4th grade field trips and the 6th grade outdoor ed happened last week. That outdoor ed event happened last week. They're also working hard to provide support for students as they move on to new grade levels. That work included meeting with teams of teachers and support staff across the building and grade levels. The counselors have also been coordinating orientation nights for their incoming 4th grade families and rising 5th graders, as well as hosting their incoming 4th grade students for a tour of the building. And then lastly, they are also celebrating the progress that students have made throughout the year. End of year benchmark data collection has been revealing that the students were able to continue to make great gains in their reading and math benchmarks. He wanted to express some really nice words and gratefulness to the faculty and staff who have worked so hard this year to make this growth happen with their students. And in collaboration with their families, these kids have been able to provide a rich and successful accomplishment. So he just wanted to share best wishes to everybody and hope that everyone has a restful and restorative summer.
Thank you very much. Next is Briarwood Colbrook.
Yes, it was a pleasure working with Dr. Farrell this year. Going back to Briarwood when my kids went to school and making new friends at Colebrook, it was a lot of fun. So June has a lot of activities going on. Both schools had Flag Day this month, grade 3 graduations, grade K celebrations moving up. So that was a lot of fun this month. They're thankful for the PTSA, for all their support on all the celebrations and all the events. For grade 3 graduation, they had 3rd graders tie-dye their t-shirts, and they had signed yearbooks, and they enjoyed cookies. Actually, that was today. They had their 3rd grade moving up ceremonies. They also had lots of field trips this month. They went to Helmer Nature Center, Longacre Farms. They went to the public market. They went to Highland Park as well, just to name a few. So June has been very fun, just culminating a great year of great learning and social emotional bonds, and just hoping everyone has a great, great summer.
Thank you. Brookview Seneca.
Yeah, I with my busy schedule, I was just not able to catch up with the splits. Nothing to report.
I feel that. I talked to Ms. Pavone this morning. It's like, oh, it's a board night. So Listwood South Lawn, just have a quick update from Ms. Pavone. This month has been filled with fun. The Olympic-themed sports days were incredibly enjoyable with a lot of parent volunteers and a lot of smiles. Our K and 3rd grade celebrations have also been filled with a lot of smiles as families celebrate a good year. Our Ames Web data for both reading and math look incredible. The growth that has occurred from September is notable. The teachers, interventionists, and teacher assistants have collectively made a great impact on our students' reading and math. And she said, I'm thankful for my time here at West Arondico. I just want to say it's been a pleasure working with Ms. Pavone this year. I want to wish her well in the future because she will be leaving the district very soon. And we wish her all of the luck in the future. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. Some of us will have future meetings, but I'm in the death stare right now.
There are a few things to say before.
I know. So I have a few things to say first, and I have the gavel, so I get to say. It is the last meeting for 3 of us, myself included. I just really want to thank Ms. Vargas Cronin, Mr. Connor. It's been a pleasure working with you. And watching you grow and develop as board members. It's been my honor to work with everyone in this room. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I just want to say thank you to the community for letting me sit up here for 6 years and make stupid jokes that everyone feels obligated to laugh at. So I will now turn the floor over to you, sir.
Just 1 second. Since we're on the topic of stealing thunder, thank you, Mrs. Cunningham and Mr. Netra. Just to reiterate what both of you had said, it has been an absolute honor and privilege to share with all of you, to share this table with all of you, to learn from all of you, to embrace the diverse perspectives that you really brought to the table and helped us really open our minds in ways that we wouldn't have if you weren't sitting here. I wish you all the best of luck in your future endeavors. I hope the added free time that you get will give Mr. Connors some more time to enjoy soccer, give you a chance to continue churning out some absolutely amazing art. I was so excited to see your table at the Juneteenth celebration this weekend, and for you to continue wearing hideously sparkly suits on stage at tax seminars and it suited you well. All the more power to you. But again, thank you all, and Matt, you really have been a model of advocacy, not just for our district, but really for the entire Monroe County community, and honestly for the state, because we sit here at this table, we talk about a lot of things that need to be on the advocacy radar, and not only do you get them on the advocacy radar, but you really get them on the agenda. And I think we've seen a lot of changes come down the pipe that hopefully you look at some of these things and realize the impact that you've had for our district, and really for all the students in the state. So again, to all of you, thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I just want to say, we work extremely closely together, and I really appreciate the friendship that we've developed together. I appreciate the way that you push one another and me. And I just I don't think people really understand all that goes into that, all the time that you invest, the cognitive energy, right? To just immerse yourself in those conversations and make some really hefty decisions on behalf of the community. So I certainly had a pleasure serving with the three of you and getting to know you, like I said, very personally. I wish you the very best, and I look forward to continuing that friendship as community members together. And any way I can support you, I definitely will. And I can remember the first time I met Mr. Metris, and they said you look like a Spartan, and you said, no, I'm not Greek. But for my career at West Veronica Clayton, I mean, that's been a staple. So I'll definitely miss you. I ran into your brother today. When I went and got dinner, he reminded me that I'm in a dunk tank with the summer. What are you talking about?
I volunteered you for the dunk tank.
Classic Matt Metris. He's like, oh, I thought my brother mentioned that. I go, I thought he was joking.
Oh.
No, it's July 21st at I Square if you would like an opportunity to dunk duck.
But in all seriousness, I think that's one thing that you always bring is all the things that have been mentioned, but there's a sense of levity and humor that you bring to help to break up the tension at times, but you also bring us together, and you help us to find a direction together, and so you've just been a really steady voice, I think, for the board and community. I just want to really appreciate that, say thank you, and there's boundless wings in your future. So, thank you.
I'll be free every other Thursday. Thank you very much. And I have threatened Dr. Johnson with coming to public comment to harass all of you. Mrs. Lustig, will the board have future meetings?
Yes, we will have the reorganizational meeting on Tuesday, July 9th at 5:30 here at district office. And then there is the all-day workshop followed by a business meeting, Thursday, August 15th. The workshop begins at 9 and the meeting will be at 5:30 here at district office.
Thank you very much. Just want to welcome our incoming board members as they take their seats up here at the table, and we look forward to you serving our community and our students. So thank you for stepping up to do that. Is there a reason to go into executive session tonight?
Yes, there is, to discuss the employment history of a particular person or persons.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Connor, seconded by Mrs. Bornavall. All those in favor? That is 7-0. We stand adjourned. Oh, I just wanted to.
That's the first time you've used that.